do what you do. He was pulling the
pole out the first time. We would take it down the road.
We was down at the bottom of the hill, and he come up here.
I hit him the second time and pulled them out. Only one of them was in.
What was the strange behavior before you came and dropped that day? Well, he wasn't talking to us when I had a call. He was acting irate. He didn't know who he was once I did. I pulled up to talk to him. He looked at me and said, "Who are you?" He said, "Who are you?" and kept walking. He didn't want to talk to us. Okay. Go up. Fly from here to the hospital. He ain't gonna fly that. He's dead. They can't. They won't fly him like that now.
We need to go over upstairs.
Go up with that rail right there for me, partner.
Where's that? Where's that? Oh, right here. I got one side of it.
There you go. Y'all know how to operate the bottom. We're gonna put him in the truck, go on the monitor with him, and see what he's in. Okay? Can you? Someone knows how to operate the front. I'll grab him. Or he can grab him. You can grab him. All you gotta do is lift. You gotta get your feet under you, brother. No, get back. You don't know. Get back. Ready? Can't grab him, master.
I don't have any questions for the witness.
Questions by,
I'm sorry, I do have one single question for the witness. My apologies. This location that you responded to, is that in Washington County?
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you.
Good morning, Officer Wiggins, and I'll be brief. I understand that you've had very little sleep.
You're fine. Whatever you need to ask.
On this particular incident on July 7, 2017, you drove up after the events occurred between Deputy Howell, Sergeant Copeland, and Deputy Scott with this subject, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So you didn't witness any of the physical struggle with them?
No, sir. The subject was already handcuffed and on the ground whenever myself and Sergeant Dudley. I'm sorry.
There was an indication on that video that you had a pulse.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize, are you familiar with Lee Wadell, the person that was next to him?
Yes, sir. I know Mr. Lee.
Tell me about what does Lee Wadell do, or what was he there in his capacity?
He was there as a first responder in his capacity.
Okay. So he is some type of a medical professional?
Yes, sir. As far as I know, he is trained in first responder type activities, so CPR and things of that nature. Kind of more basic stuff from what I know of Mr. Lee.
Okay. And in your career as a law enforcement officer, when there was an individual that needed medical attention and first responder or EMT showed up, did you then rely on that individual for their medical care and training?
At that point in time in my career, yes, sir. Due to not having that much medical knowledge, if somebody knew more than me, I'd heavily rely on them instead of myself in that situation.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Yes, sir.
may the witness be excused?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any objection? You're excused. Thank you for appearing, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let's see if Waddell's back. If not, we'll call Carmichael. Would you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear or affirm that the evidence and testimony that you should give to this jury on the trial of this issue between the state and the defendants will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, sir, please have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Adjust the microphone, and when you're ready to begin, let me know.
I'm ready.
Sir, will you introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Lee Wadell. I'm currently the IT director for the city of Sandersville. I'm also a volunteer fireman for the Deepstep Fire Department
And how long have you been a volunteer fireman?
since 89 or 90.
And you were a volunteer fireman, obviously, in 2017.
Right.
What kind of training do you have as a volunteer
I
fireman?
was licensed EMT in 95. I allowed that license to expire, but we go through ongoing training throughout the years. I've done refreshers on EMT also.
When do you call to respond as a volunteer fireman?
I'm sorry, what's that?
When are you typically called to respond as a volunteer fireman?
Anywhere from, medical calls, fire calls, wrecks, lifting assistance but that's usually the extent of it.
All right, sir, and were you called out to Deepstep Road on July 7th of 2017?
I wasn't called. I was on the way home and heard the call.
Okay, that's it. That's the point I was trying to make. Will you let the jurors to know how you became involved in this?
Okay,
If you speak to them, please.
I was on the way home, heard the call. I scanned on my radio, and I heard a concerning call. It didn't sound right, and I called investigator Trey Bergamy. I was about 8 miles out, and I said, something doesn't sound right about this call. You might want to get him some backup over there. And he was down south of, he was at 57 and 68, a good ways away. But I went on to the scene. When I arrived, I believe, Mr. Martin was already handcuffed, and that's how I got there.
And what did you do when you arrived?
Well, the call, they were needing loading assistance. So I said, well, I'll go ahead and just assist with like lift assistance. And when I got there, and Deputy Scott was standing with Mr. Martin, and I talked to him for a little bit, and when he had just asked him if, what the last vitals and all, they had been pretty current. And I got to look, and I think he was facing back towards Deepstep Road. His eyes were open, I remember that. But I started looking for rise and fall, and I didn't see, and I figured it should be since he'd been fighting quite a bit. And so I went and checked to look, see, and we didn't see that he appeared to be breathing, and checked the pulse and didn't have a pulse.
And were you saying that he was fighting quite a bit? Are you relying on statements from the officer?
Just from what I heard on the call, right. It had gone a long time because that's all the way from Mount Sinai Church. I knew where that was, and if he walked that far, and I knew that and I did that because when Deputy Howell turned around on him, that was there, and he rode behind him because that's a curve and keeping someone from running over him, and he stopped at Mac Tucker and sat down, best I remember. And they stayed there for a little while and then proceeded up the hill.
Okay, so you had been monitoring the situation.
Right.
By the time you administered to Mr. Martin, in your opinion, was he already dead?
I'm not qualified to answer that.
Heartbeat?
I don't think I felt the heartbeat when you'd have to check my deposition with the GBI is what I stated with that, but I don't recall a pulse at that time when I finally got to checking him.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Good morning, Mr. Wadell.
Good morning.
You indicated that you heard this call on the radio.
Correct.
So as a first responder in Washington County, you actively have the radio on when time allows.
Right.
And that's for the safety of this community and for you to be available to assist if needed when you can.
Exactly.
So you heard this call go out and you monitored it for some time.
Right.
And based on what you heard, you were concerned.
Yes, sir.
And you called then Captain Bergamy at the time.
Right.
And you indicated to him your concern. And
Yes, sir.
Eventually, when you arrived on scene, you indicated that Deputy Scott was right there with Mr. Martin.
Right.
You indicated that Mr. Scott told you that his recent vitals, that he
Right.
observed him breathing and things of that.
Right.
And if a person is breathing, then they would have a heartbeat, correct?
Correct.
But if a person doesn't have a heartbeat, they very likely would not.
Right.
And once you got there, you started assessing the scene as you were trained to do.
Right. Yes, sir.
And in your experience, when first responder, EMS arrives on the scene for a medical issue, like a person who has stopped breathing, it's in your control to start taking care of that individual, correct?
Yes, sir.
And once you determined that he was not breathing and that he did not have a pulse, that was relayed to EMS that was responding, that they needed to speed it up, 1018, correct?
Correct.
And just for the jury's knowledge, what does 1018 mean?
Respond quickly.
Lights and sirens, this is the emergency.
Right.
And you instructed them, or the deputies, that we needed to take his handcuffs off.
Right. And they did. They responded quickly to.
And you saw beginning chest compression.
Right.
It was later turned over to the EMS that actually arrived.
And we continued chest compressions in the ambulance with, I believe, 2 rounds of epi to see if we could get anything back.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Wadell, just because you're licensed, your EMT license,
Not anymore. Not currently. And wasn't at that time.
well, right, it expired in 1995.
No, sometime after that.
But just because it's expired doesn't mean you've lost that knowledge.
No, that was the only reason becoming an EMT, was to get the knowledge, because we're so remote that we need to have the knowledge.
So it would have been, reasonable for you to still have retained that knowledge on that.
Yes, sir.
And you've worked with these deputies before, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And in your capacity as a first responder, right?
Correct.
And they would have known, based on conversations with you, that you had EMTs.
I don't know if they probably would, but from accident scenes, yes.
And, normally when you're on an accident scene or an emergency scene, it's reasonable for people to rely on you to assist with medical care in emergency situations. Would that be right?
That's correct.
Okay. And these deputies knew you were a volunteer firefighter.
Correct.
Had medical expertise.
Yes.
Okay. And you were specifically there to assist with medical, is that right?
Yes.
And it would have been reasonable for these deputies to rely on your expertise rather than them jumping in.
Sure.
No other question.
Okay.
Any other questions by defense counsel? Any further questions by the state?
No, there are no further questions from the state.
May the witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you for appearing. You're excused.
Yeah, Carmine. Yeah. State calls Carmichael to the stand. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence and testimony that you shall give to this jury on the trial of this issue between the state and the defendants will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, so have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Adjust your microphone and papers the way you like them, and when you're ready to begin, let me know. We'll begin.
Ready?
Will you introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Ryan Carmichael with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
And what are your current duties and responsibilities with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation?
I'm currently an inspector assigned at headquarters for our Deputy Director's Office, and I oversee several work units around the state.
How long have you worked for the GBI?
Since 2001.
Will you walk us through your background, education, training, please?
As far as law enforcement, started as a police officer in 1999, then came on with the GBI in 2001. I've worked at multiple different investigative field offices and specialized units around the state over the years.
All right, sir, and do you have any training with tasers?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
I was originally trained in the use of Taser in 2004. In 2013, I believe it was trained as a Taser instructor and did that for several years.
Are you trained to download Taser information
Yes.
and diagnose that or interpret that data?
Yes, the data from the download records.
Your Honor, at this time, the state tenders this witness as an expert in the field of tasers.
Do the defense counsel wish to question? Yes, Your Honor. You may do so.
Inspector Carmichael, you would be able to testify about the specific elements, the hardware that's inside of the device, would you?
No, sir.
And other than just the version number of the firmware that's printed on the report, are you familiar with the manner in which that functions to regulate the voltage delivered from either device?
Regulating voltage and so on? No, sir.
Are you familiar with the way the device regulates voltage delivery, whether it's connected to a subject or distant?
No, sir. It's the functionality of it from the perspective of being a former Taser instructor. That's my level of knowledge.
Your expertise would be limited to the use of the Taser in the field.
Yes, sir. And then the data download records that come from that.
And trying to defend it, well,
No.
what number? And this goes to your expertise. Showing you what's labeled as Defendant's Exhibit 40, do you recognize that document or those documents?
I do.
How do you recognize that?
They're the pulse graph logs. They're part of the download information.
And I know we've got two devices that have already been entered into evidence in this case. Are those logs from either device, both devices?
Let me check serial numbers.
Are you, well, before you answer that, are you aware of whether both devices entered into evidence are capable of producing those types of logs?
One of them is.
And one of them is not, is that correct?
That's correct. And yes, checking the serial number from the X26P that I looked at, these records would be from that.
And Defense Exhibit 40, and I know we're sort of at the, not exactly the cross-examination stage, so if we need to wait on that, we can.
All right, you are tendering D40.
Yes, sir.
Is there any objection to D40?
No, there's no objection.
D40 is admitted.
In your training, are you qualified to interpret the various lines on this graph to determine, well, what they mean?
No, sir, I'm not.
Your Honor, this time we would object him being offered as an expert in tasers in general. Believe that the record will reflect that he does not have the necessary qualifications to testify about the function of the device, interpreting the logs, the various functions of the device when it's in use. Clearly, he has experience in training and use of the device. But as far as testifying as an expert about the device, I don't believe that the proper foundations were.
State's response.
I believe we have, but I'll go a little bit further. Do you have experience downloading Taser and
Yes, I
interpreting
do.
the data?
Yes.
Where did you receive that training?
That was through the Taser instructor course. There was a block in that basically trains you how to download the data records from the Taser.
Okay, and who puts that on?
The materials come from Taser or Axon, depending on the time frame when that was.
Okay, so you've received your training actually from Axon, the Taser company.
Yes, back when I was certified as a Taser instructor.
And you have downloaded Tasers before?
Yes, sir.
You have testified as an expert before?
As far as being qualified as an expert in that area, I don't believe I have. I've testified to the records I have downloaded.
Okay, and you have testified before as to the downloads and how you download that information?
Correct.
Okay. And you've testified previously in this trial? regarding downloading Taser information?
Yes, sir.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, I would tender him as an expert only in the area of interpreting Taser download data as to whether it's been used or not, and also the general functioning of the weapon.
Any further comments by defendants?
I don't want to misstate your testimony about these graphs, defendants. Is your testimony that looking at these graphs, you are not qualified to interpret the particular data that is reflected on the green line, blue line, and purple line for each of these graphs that are downloaded?
For the download, for the pulse graphs, the actual interpretation of each of those lines, no. For the download report, essentially the timeline and duration of cycle and so on, yes, I've been trained in that, but not the interpretation of the graphs.
And this is just as a demonstrative.
Yes.
And I'm showing you, it's a card that has a name, a start time, a duration, and a corrected start time. I'm showing it to you. When you just referred to the log that downloads with the times, is that the type of document you're referring to? Or that type of data?
That type of data, this data would have come from those logs.
So you have familiarity with how to get the data off?
Correct.
Not necessarily any training or expertise in interpreting. You can read the data, but you have no training in interpreting the log data.
Not interpreting a pulse graph, no.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Maybe it's a matter of semantics. The state would tender him for the limited purpose of testifying to the general functioning of the Taser weapon and how he's able to determine whether or not it's been fired based on the downloaded information.
Any further comments?
I believe you can tender the fact witness, and we, of course, have no objection.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the questions that have been asked concerning qualifications deal with whether or not the witness is recognized as an expert and if so, in what area. Based upon the questions and the proffer both by the state as well as questions by defense counsel, the court will authorize you that you may accept the testimony of this witness as an expert in the issue of the operation of a taser, as well as in the downloading of the information from the taser device itself. In regard to the interpretation of the actual graphs and charts that are the result of the download, that would be a matter that the witness may refer to, but should not be considered as an expert in that issue as far as interpretation. Of course, like with all witnesses, it is up to you as members of the jury to decide and evaluate the testimony of witnesses based upon their testimony that is given to you. So the state may proceed.
Okay. Can you tell the jury generally how a taser functions?
Yes, so most of the devices are, excuse me.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to stand.
Oh, okay, yes, sir. Most of the devices, they have a power source, essentially a battery in them. With them, they utilize cartridges that have two probes with wires attached to them. They're loaded onto the front of them. By turning the weapon on, by pulling the trigger, it will fire those two probes, and then between the connection of those probes with the subject, cycle electricity.
In connection with an incident that happened on July 7th of 2017, where you provided two taser weapons to examine.
Yes, I was, to download the records.
Let me show you what we have marked previously in State's Exhibits 22 and also State's Exhibits 21, 21 and 22. 21 will be labeled Rhett Scott and 22 will be labeled Lee Copeland. We'll take a look at 21 first. Do you recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and what is that?
It's a Taser X26P that I downloaded the records from.
And let me show what I've marked as State's Exhibit and tentative evidence, the State's Exhibit 22. What is State's Exhibit 22?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is that?
It's a Taser X26 that I downloaded the records from. Yes, sir.
All right, sir. So you said you downloaded the records. What does that entail?
Taking the devices and plugging them into a computer that has evidence sync software with it, and then the download records of the function of the device or the use of the device are downloaded into a PDF style report.
And what kind of information do you download?
It downloads date and time of activation or trigger activation and the duration of the cycle of the electricity.
Okay, and did you perform that on both of these weapons?
I did, yes.
Was the time accurate?
The time in both devices was not at the time. It was synced to the correct time at the time of download.
Can you explain just briefly why that is, why the time was off?
Updating of the devices, and including the time, is done by actually plugging it into a computer. And it can depend on the time frame that it's been since it's last been updated or plugged in, that you may get time drift to where the clock gets off internally. And then you have to do a calculation of how far it corrected that time at the time of the download to determine what the correct time or approximate time would have been for each of the events.
Okay, and you refer to that as time drift?
Yes, sir.
And you made adjustments for that?
Made adjustments
for the time drift?
Yes, sir, and calculating how far off each of the devices was at the time of download.
Once you got that information, did you put that information into a chart form?
I did not. A chart was later presented to me.
Okay. But you reviewed a chart, does it accurately reflect the downloads as you reviewed them?
Yes, sir, the chart I reviewed.
I want to show what I've marked as State's Exhibit 27.
No objection.
Take a look at State's Exhibit 27, if you will. And what is State's Exhibit 27?
It's a chart that has the corrected times for the download information and the duration of cycle for both of the tasers, essentially creating a timeline.
All right, sir. Might be helpful if we can use the bigger chart. We've marked that as 27. We'll mark this. Does the board have a preference as to 27A or 28?
27, this is demonstrative, is that correct? And it is the same chart, just enlarged. Let's mark it as 27A. And they're both tendered, is that correct?
It is, and I'd like to try to display this in a way that the defense can see it too. I'm not sure how that might best be accomplished.
We've got a copy of it.
You have a copy of it? Is it okay then if I?
No objection.
Okay.
Okay, states 27 and 27A are admitted without objection.
Would you mind stepping down from the stand for me?
Sure.
And again, I'm going to hold this up. I don't want to block you. Do you need to move? I ask opposed counsel if they'd like to move so they can see this, or?
Yeah, if anyone needs to move around, please do so. And you can do that now or later if you need to.
Okay, will you walk the juror through this?
Sure. From both of the downloads that I did, there were two different reports that came showing the times that the taser was activated and then how long it cycled. And so the chart represents those combined. The taser that was assigned to Copeland, I was able to determine that through the evidence tag records of who it was collected from or who it was associated with by the serial number on the device. And so it's which device it was is labeled by last name. Which device it was labeled by last name. The corrected start time of that event, of when that trigger was pulled and when it cycled electricity. The gray line in between is the break in time between it, where there was a cycling event, it stopped, 2-second break, for example, and then the next event that occurred. And then in the duration column, that was the number of seconds that that taser cycled electricity. And then, of course, the last one stopped. That was the 5 seconds, for example, on the first line. The first one was a 5-second cycle and then stopped.
Can you tell us the total number of times the trigger was pulled on the Scott?
7.
You have a seat. So one was pulled 8 times, one that a shock was delivered on those occasions.
It does not, no. I can't determine if electricity was delivered to the subject.
That would be dependent on whether the prongs were in the body and other factors.
Yes, prongs in the body, other factors was the device, contact with the subject, several other things.
Would you agree that probably it would be helpful to watch a video? That might help determine how many times the shock.
One thing to, with tasers is to look for a change in behavior in the subject or look for effects with that subject while it's cycling.
No, we would object to him getting too far into his opinion about how to interpret the effect.
Well, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
I'll allow the questions to this point, but again, keeping in mind the limitations as far as expert qualifications, just tailor your questions to that degree.
Understand. It's our intent to keep it within the realm of common sense. We simply ask if it might be helpful to visually see what's happening rather than simply relying on data.
Correct, yes.
So what you can't tell us how many shocks they received, but you can tell how many in time they intended to deliver a shot. By that, how many times the trigger was pulled.
I can tell you how many times the trigger was activated, yes.
All right, so those are the questions I have.
Cross-examination.
You testified that you train officers in the use of the taser, is that correct?
In the past, yes.
In the past? And did you train officers that a taser should be used in order to avoid a prolonged physical struggle or to shorten the duration of arrest of someone who's actively resisting?
That's one intended use, yes, or the intended use.
Have you yourself deployed a taser in the field?
I have not, no.
In addition to the times shown on this board, the dates are not on here.
No, sir.
And this is just, would be, well, do you recognize what that is?
Yes, it appears to be a portion of a Taser download report, the PDF style report.
Would that be the raw data from which this agreement would have been created?
Yes, sir.
And what are the dates that you see there that correlate with the dates of these times?
Would be July 7th, 2017.
And then, is there a July 10th on the next page?
There is, correct.
And that also reflects a time when that device was activated.
Correct. That would have been when I did the download.
And so that was you testing the device to see if it functions.
Yes.
And on that report, your test of the device appears on the log in the exact same way as any other trigger.
Yes, sir.
So there is nothing we can gain from this about whether this is being utilized against the subject or whether it is merely being turned on.
Not from these records, no.
Nothing further.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, the state has no redirect.
May the witness be excused?
Yes, the witness may be excused.
Any objection from defendants?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, sir. You are excused.
Thank you, sir.
We can call Durden.
You may proceed.
Yes, sir. State calls John Durden.
You may.
All right, sir. Will you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear or affirm that the evidence and testimony that you shall give to this jury on the trial of this issue will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Will you make yourself comfortable? And when you're ready to go, let me know.
I'm ready.
Begin by introducing yourself to the jury, please.
My name's John Durden. I live in Bartow, Georgia. I'm a semi-retired GBI agent. I retired 2021 and went back to work with them as a contract agent doing background investigations. I'm also a adjunct professor at Columbus State University. I teach law enforcement related topics.
Will you kind of walk us through your background in education?
Yeah, I was first policing job was in DeKalb County Police Department. I was a police officer there, a street cop for 3 to 4 years. After that, I went to Emmanuel County Sheriff's Office in Swainsboro, Georgia, where I was born and raised. I was a deputy there for a short time, and then I became the chief investigator. In 1996, I joined the GBI as a special agent, and from 96 to 2021, I was did a range of jobs with the GBI, mostly homicide investigations, undercover drug work, training unit supervisor, and then I retired. I was the agent in charge of the Statesboro office in 2021.
All right, sir. And will you tell the jury what you were doing in July 7th of 2017?
I was a agent in charge of the Statesboro office. Correction. I was a head training unit supervisor. I worked with the GBI training unit at that time. Right around that time, I was transitioning to the Statesboro office.
Okay, what kind of training would you conduct?
Mostly criminal procedure, search and seizure, constitutional law classes, de-escalation, use of force, community policing, pretrial identification, Miranda, about 10 more I can't think of at the time.
That's a question. Back in 2017, did you train these 3 defendants?
They attended a class I put on here in Washington County.
Okay, what kind of class was that?
It was the governor's mandated use of force training, which consisted of an hour of use of force training, an hour of de-escalation, and 2 hours of community policing.
Okay, so predominantly use of force and de-escalation? Use of force and de-escalation
Yes,
and
sir.
community policing. Let me show what I've marked as State's Exhibit 28.
No objection.
Take your time and look at State's Exhibit 28. We've had a chance to give that a good look. Let me know. I'd like to ask you some questions. I do wish to tender State's 28, Your Honor.
States 28 is admitted without objection.